Hey y'all, hey, so this is module 1, okay? Module 1 is going to cover the biological and medical investigation. So what do we mean when we say investigations? This unconversion, right? I can keep it real with y'all. I started supplementing blindly when I just started my approach, my whole journey. I was supplementing blindly, but I had done enough research to do so safely. I don't want that for you. I don't want that for you. Okay? I want you to go step by step in the things that we're going to cover here. Okay? I also want to mention, if you already have my biomedical blueprint, right? The book, the actual book, we can start in the beginning as well. I'm going to reference to some of the things but this roadmap is kind of like a simplified, less wordy version of the blueprint. Okay, so we're gonna do lab tests. Okay, so that's where we are. All right, so the biological and medical investigations, we're not gonna read through it. We're not in pre-K, right? Oh, that was mean. Okay, I'm not gonna read word for word. First of all, I'm dyslexic. Y'all don't want to hear me read, okay? So I can only talk off the top of my head, right? But anyway, first we want to identify the underlying medical issues and imbalances that it may impact your child's health and behavior. What does that mean? It means that it's a spectrum. It's a broad spectrum. We don't know. You don't know. I don't know until we do our thorough investigation. What's really going on in your child's body? What's the best way to do that? Medical tests. Is that the first thing here? Yes, medical tests. Like, I'm not BSing you. I would never. This is as real as it gets. To supplement blindly would look like, okay, to generalize it, a lot of kids on the spectrum lack vitamin D. A lot of us in general are usually deficient in vitamin D, right? Probably vitamin C. Most definitely magnesium. Okay, a lot of kids on the spectrum may be deficient, I apologize, in glutathione. Okay, so I can give these knowing, good and dash darn well that my child is more than likely deficient in them. You get down into the B vitamins, and the zinc is also one of them too. Zinc is also one of them, and the copper and the vitamin E, those are very intricate. So you want to do tests to find out what's going on in your child's body. Okay. That being said, I would go to your pediatrician. We're gonna take the cheaper way out. I'd go to the pediatrician, right? And I'd be like, hey, I'm having some difficulties with my child. Okay, so we're going to use an example. That's why I pulled for the biomedical guide. So, zinc, right? These are common deficiencies in zinc: loss of appetite, skin problems, behavioral issues, food aversion, sleep disturbances, developmental challenges, and pica. I would go to my pediatrician and I'd be like, I'm about to give you all the tea. I'd be like, hey, I noticed that my child is having, or is putting, let's use this. My child is putting more non-food items in their mouth. Also having, challenges sleeping at nights more than the usual. I'm also having some behavioral issues. I would like you to do a vitamins deficiencies panel. Y'all got that? That's how we gonna get that, right? And get the medical test. That's how we gonna do it the cheap way. If you already have a functional doctor, kudos to you. That's probably the first thing they're gonna test. They're gonna test the vitamin and mineral deficiency, a heavy metals test. They're probably gonna do an oats test to check for any bacteria that may be present in the body. Usually those are like the first three, and or a food it's not a allergy test, not food allergy, food intolerance test. That's also another big one that they do. But if you do not have a functional doctor, because they are very expensive, I'll be the first one to tell you, then I would start with a pediatrician and be like, hey, can I have this test? So this test goes over a variety of vitamins and minerals, and I would go from that list and say, hey, okay, my son or daughter is deficient in magnesium, let me go and see what brands are out there and supplement with this magnesium. I'm using magnesium because magnesium has different types of magnesium. I'm just going to go over them real quick. If it's not in your booklet, you can write it down. 1 second. Okay. Magnesium types and benefits. And if you already have the biomedical guide, like it's already in there, just look for the magnesium page right here. All right. So first, citrate for constipation, chloride for energy, oxide for constipation, malate for detox and energy, glycinate. This is very popular amongst the autism community because it's for calm and sleep. Okay, so you're going to hear magnesium glycinate a lot. You're also going to hear threonate. Threonate is for cognition, so you're going to hear that a lot as well. Sulfate is usually found in Epsom salt for the Epsom salt baths, right? So that's it for magnesium. In your booklets, you're going to see a CMP, which assess the liver and kidney functions, a CBC that identifies immune issues and anemia. A lot of kids have problems with pica, that they just put everything in their mouth. I would suggest asking for a CBC and iron panel. Check their iron levels if that's happening as well. Inflammatory markers, CRP and ESR, detects inflammation levels. A lot of kids have inflammation in their brains, and that's why they have a lot of challenges. We're going to say challenges that we see. It may look different for a lot of our kids. It may look like stimming. It may look like noise sensitivity. It may look like anxiety. It may look like impulsive behaviors. It may look like it may present as a lot of behavioral issues, right? Inflammation in the brain can cause that. Dysregulation in the body, well, not in the body, but dysregulation overall can also cause that. But we want to make sure that we know what's going on in their body so that we can safely and accurately and appropriately supplement, right? All right. If you don't know by now, we take the holistic approach. So I'm not talking about medicating your child. Absolutely not. We're doing everything before medicating, okay? But if you are familiar with my content, you're familiar with me, then you know it should have been expected. But if you're not, just in case you're not, I'm not talking about medicating your child at all. I'm against medication because I feel like there are a lot of natural approaches or natural things that we can use before we get to that point. If you need to medicate, I'm totally fine with it. But did you try these things before getting there? You see what I'm saying? All right. So blood tests obviously can reveal deficiencies in vitamins and minerals. Like I said earlier, allergy responses and the presence of toxins, which is the heavy metals test that I also mentioned earlier. It says key tests. I talked about these. So vitamin D, B12, magnesium levels will all fall under a vitamins and deficiencies panel, blood panel. The heavy metals test, which I mentioned, it says here mercury and lead, but they also test for aluminum and arsenic and some other heavy metals that may impact the brain. And it says here IgE or IgG allergy testing. So this is what I said. Functional doctor will check for food sensitivities, because even though it doesn't show up on a regular allergy test, it doesn't mean that it doesn't upset the digestive system. So an IgE or IgG food test may uncover food allergies and sensitivities, and that's why my son is on a gluten and a dairy-free diet, right? Genetic testing is big because you do have some genetic components to autism, right? We're not going to be like, no, there is. And I feel like genetic testing will kind of, it's like a process of elimination. Let me test for these to see if it is genetically linked. If it's not, then we move on. But at least we know that that's not what's going on. And if it is, then we know how to approach it, right? Okay. For genetic testing, though, right, I want to focus on the MTHFR gene and the FRAT test today, right? The MTHFR determines if your child requires a specific form of folate. Their bodies can't break down a lot of things. You cannot do folic acid, Folic acid is a synthetic version to folate, right? And they can't break down synthetic flavors. So say like you have a vitamin with a synthetic orange taste. Their bodies can't break that down either. And it also makes it harder for them to detox as well. So I would look more into the MTHFR gene mutation. I would look into the kit. I do have a genetic MTHFR gene mutation kit that I've sent to people. It's in my Amazon storefront on Amazon. But I really do think it's best to get a functional doctor to do the test. My son's functional doctor did ours. He does not have the MTHFR gene mutation, but there are markers, and I think it's best to have somebody explain what those are. So if you could get it done by a professional, then I would say do that. I think it's really worth it. This is really worth it. The next one is the FRAT test. This I also think is very important. It's the folate receptor antibody test. It's useful for assessing brain-related folate deficiencies. But if your child, if your child is positive for the antibodies, that means they're not sufficiently getting folate transported to their brain. So if they have a developmental the delay or speech delay or whatever delay, it could be caused by the lack of folate being transported to their brains. So you see why that's important? Okay, got it. All right. A gut health assessment. That's where I was telling you about the oats test that would come in. Gut health, we should know. If you bought this course, then you already probably did a little research and know by now that whatever happens in the gut is in the brain. If the gut is inflamed, the brain is inflamed. Right? Are we there? If we're not, then let me know. Let me know. Let me know for real. But it's definitely a connection. A stool analysis would be done by most functional doctors. They want to know what's going on in their gut. They want to know if there's bacteria in the gut. They want to know if they have parasites. They want to know whatever is going on in the gut. They want to fix that first. Right? It identifies harmful bacteria, parasites, and inflammation markers. I just said that. And the O test that I mentioned earlier on detects yeast and bacterial overgrowth. A lot of kids on the spectrum are plagued with candida, which is the overgrowth of yeast, right? And it says provides a snapshot of gut health overall. A list of labs that specialize in oat and stool testing. They're just gonna ask for an oats test, and that's it for the testing. So that basically wraps up the investigation, the biomedical and medical investigation. Those are the approaches we're gonna take to investigate and to find out what's going on in our child's bodies, right? Just a brief overview: the medical test, the blood test, the genetic test, and the gut health assessment, right? And I hope that was pretty clear. I hope it wasn't too much information. I'm trying to keep it, as much as possible. It's very to the point. I hope you printed this out so you can, if you need to take it to your doctor, you can just take it in there and be like, okay, so I want boom, 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 boom. It's a lot more information out there, but this is the introduction and this is a start. This is a safe place to start. This is a good place to be like, okay, this is what's going on. This is where I can go from here. Okay? All right? Are we there? Okay. So that closed out module 1 for the investigation.